man, sometimes, or woman. There could be a, I think he's going to be introduced. I'm not entirely sure who by. So we'll get a sense then of him being on the way. But the moment's approaching, no doubt.
We'll keep an eye on who does introduce him, if in fact someone does introduce him. And just, you know, as we await the final speech, you touched on the fact that when in, as we hear the crowd cheer, you touched on the fact that when in Belfast, he had to really walk his way through a minefield, making sure not to say the wrong thing. And we know that President Biden does like to. Let's just wait for the announcement.
Mayor of Ballina, Mark Duffy.
Well, it would appear the Mayor of Ballina is now walking out to begin the evening's main event. Let's take a listen to what the Mayor has to say.
Are we ready to make a hometown welcome? Give a hometown welcome to President Joe Biden. That wasn't bad, but we'll give it another go. This time, I want everyone, from right down on his home street of Garden Street, to the Market Square in Ballina, where we've got big screens, from Pearse Street, up Ardnaree and down the quay, to here on the banks of the historic River Moy, behind the Cathedral. Are we ready to give President Biden a homecoming welcome? Tonight, we are celebrating in Ballina. We are celebrating our history, our heritage, our culture, and most importantly, our people. We're celebrating each and every person from County Mayo and afar that has come here tonight on this historic occasion. But we're also remembering tonight the people who are no longer with us, who are part of the fabric that have made us who we are, proud County Mayo people and proud Irish people. The Ballina story was not always celebratory. We've had our difficult times. On these streets and on these laneways during famine, so many people died and emigrated. Many went to Scranton, our sister city in the USA. They went in search of a better life. One man, Edward Blewett, went to Scranton. Like many of him from this area, thousands of us from County Mayo went to Scranton, went down into the coal mines, worked the railways. But coming out of those coal mines came hope, and came the Edward Blewett story that has now become the Joe Biden story. In Scranton, like Ballina, we know where we've come from. We're proud of who we are. And in just a few moments' time, the President of the USA is back for the third time in Ballina, County Mayo. The Taoiseach, Leo Varadkar, will speak next. After Taoiseach speaks, I hope that you give a rousing, powerful, Western, soulful, homecoming welcome to the 46th President of the United States of America, President Joe Biden. Have a great night.
Agwini Ushla. Please welcome Taoiseach Leo Varadkar.
President Biden, Ambassador Cronin, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. President, welcome back to Mayo. Fáilte Rash, Quig Conde Mayo, Conde Intach, Conde Specialta. A county very close to my heart, as well as your own. And thank you for choosing to make this such a big part of your visit. The story of Ireland can be told through poetry and music, but most eloquently, it's expressed through our people. It's a story of longing for a better life, a better society, and a better world. a story of unimaginable courage in the face of loss. And above all, it's a story of love for country, for family, and for community. It's your story, Mr. President, as well as our own. So thank you for your lifelong commitment to peace on our island. Your friendship, your leadership that you've shown in protecting all that has been achieved, and for everything that you're helping to do to build a better future here in America and around the world. In this place, hope and history are not often far apart. 25 years ago, when the Good Friday Agreement was signed, to use the words of Maya Angelou, my favorite American poet, we released our fingers from fists of hostility and allowed the pure air to cool our palms. History, she reminds us, despite its wrenching pain, cannot be unlived, but if faced with courage, need not be lived again. By facing our past together, on our island we learned a brave and startling truth, that nothing is ever truly impossible. In the darkest days of our country's history, the Blewitts and the Finnegans and countless other families left these shores for a better life in the new world. Mayo has changed considerably, and Ireland has changed considerably since Edward Blewett fled these shores during the worst days of the famine. We were a country at the time starved of food, of medicine, in despair, starved of opportunity, and starved for even longer of basic rights and freedoms. A country that was being denuded of its people, a country that was not in charge of its own affairs. Today, Mayo, as you've witnessed, is linked to the world by fibre and by air. It's connected to communities across the globe through its people. Mayo is home to American companies that provide good jobs for so many people, and a new technological university which provides the greatest passport for all, an education. So here outside St. Muredach's Cathedral, we must rededicate ourselves to playing our part in the fight between darkness and light, despair and hope, injustice and dignity. We pray for the wisdom to guide us, the words to speak up for those without a voice, the shield to protect our planet, and the strength to do what is right always. Mr. President, we know that your life story reminds us that although tragedy may shape us, it never solely defines us. Love of country, of family, and of each other moves us forward, providing new hope and inspiring others along the way. President Biden, you are the most Irish of all American presidents, not because of what is written on your family tree, but because of what is enshrined in your soul. We didn't need to gather here today in our tens of thousands to say welcome back to Ireland, because in your heart, you never left. Thank you very much, Mr. President. We look forward to your work.
Well, the crowd is just settling, awaiting the arrival of President Biden. We've heard there from the Irish Taoiseach Leo Varadkar saying that President Biden is a lifelong friend and compatriot and supportive in his endeavours to try and dedicate himself and the Irish people to fighting against the dark. Leo Varadkar quoting who he said was his favourite American poet, Maya Angelou, talking about nothing being ever truly impossible. Of course, President Biden is a fan of quoting poetry to support his belief system, and Mr. Varadkar doing much the same there. There's this crowd here in Ballina in County Mayo who've been waiting patiently for much of the day. The gates here opened at around 5:30, and the president has now arrived, and there's a hush falling as they await.
Please welcome a son of Ballina and the 46th President of the United States, Joe Biden.
Mary, I see the light. Hello, Mayo. It's great to be here with you all. And it's great to be back in Ballina during your 300th anniversary. This town is the home of Ireland's first female president, one of your youngest mayors, and maybe to be Ireland's first female astronaut, Nora Patton. Mr. Mayor, thank you for welcoming me back to town. And I also want to thank the Taoiseach for his remarkable hospitality, his generous remarks, and maybe most importantly for his friendship. I want to thank the bands that played earlier. God, you guys are amazing. And the academics. Let's give another big hand, by the way, to the Chieftains. I remember being with you back in 2016. I'm grateful you came back for one more time to perform tonight. Thank you, the Chieftains. Your music is incredible, and I've been a long-time fan. My good friend Enda Kenny, former Taoiseach, a Mayo man, is here with Finola, his wife. God love her, she's going to go straight to heaven. I love you both, but most of all, I want to acknowledge my family, all the Blewitts. You make me proud. You make me proud. All year, the words of the great Mayo poet Andrew Rafferty have been ringing in my head. And it goes like this. He said, "Now the spring is coming. I shall raise my sail. Since it entered my head, I won't stay still until I shall stand in the center of County Mayo."